me, do you work here?
Yep.
With the MacIver Institute?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So do you know what they were protesting here today?
No clue.
Okay, well their demonstration was about people who work with ALEC and ALEC members.
Yeah, the one woman said that we write legislation and lobby for ALEC and that they're out to
No, I think
educate people.
MacIver Institute was being protested because of their ties with the Bradley Foundation.
Well, that's not what the people who were here told me. The people who were here told me that they were protesting us because we lobby for ALEC and we write legislation for them, which is just not true. But they want to make sure they informed everybody about stuff that isn't true.
Okay, so the ties to the Bradley Foundation. Is it true that in the past 2 years you've received over $300,000 from the Bradley
Yep, we don't
Foundation?
comment on our donors, but if you look at the Bradley Foundation annual report, you will see that they do grant us.
Okay, and they're directly, very closely tied with the ALEC organization, and they are protesting ALEC's influence on the governmental process.
Are they going to protest the symphony and the ballet in Milwaukee too? Because the Bradley Foundation gives money to them too.
Right, but the Bradley Foundation donating to them doesn't directly affect the policy changes going on in the Capitol.
Gotcha.
So that's an arts donation. This is a policy donation.
Gotcha.
I was wondering about the Koch, what Koch said about his donation to Americans for Prosperity and the MacIver Institute partnership with Americans for Prosperity. He said that he is directly helping Walker. From my understanding, MacIver Institute and Americans for Prosperity aren't allowed to directly lobby for or against any candidate.
The It's Working, if you're referring to the It's Working television commercials,
Yep.
and the It's Working campaign have absolutely everything to do with the policy changes that are going on here and the documented policy changes.
But nothing
in
to do.
In none of our communications have we mentioned a candidate for office,
So when
public politician.
So when
election.
David Koch says that he is directly helping Walker, and the money that he spent,
You're going to have to ask him.
okay, the money that he spent went to you, and the money that he's spending to directly help Walker, you're claiming is not to help Walker.
If a donor has a certain motivation to give money to a certain organization, you have to ask that donor. We can't, other people cannot speak for what the motivations for people who donate money. I can tell you that without a doubt, what we've done regarding the It's Working campaign has to do with the public policy. Everything's been fully documented. We're using Legislative Reference Bureau facts and independent reporting from across the state.
And is the budget balanced?
The budget right now is balanced, although they do project by next year, if
By next year or 2012?
by next year, if things don't change, there will be $143 million in the hole.
And how much in the hole were we when Walker launched his budget repair bill?
In the final 2 months of a 2-year budget, they were in the hole over $100 million.
And so before the final 2 months of this 2-year budget, we are already in the hole more than that, is what you're trying to say?
No, we are not in the hole right now. They are projecting a budget deficit.
By the end of the 2-year budget.
By the end of the 2-year budget, correct.
We will be more in the hole than when Walker took office.
The difference being, though, is that with over 12 months to deal with it, they're either going to have to make cuts, refinance, or whatever.
Speaking of 12 months to deal with it, the first 6 months of Walker's term as governor, we saw job gains. As soon as Walker's policies took effect, we have seen 7 consecutive months of job losses. Is that working?
The job losses are absolutely troubling, and things are going to have to change in the private sector, though.
They directly reflect Scott Walker's policies taking effect.
We did, however, end 2011 with a net gain in jobs. For the previous 3 years, we had lost 150,000 jobs.
So, a net gain in jobs from when Walker took office.
Yes.
How many jobs is that?
I believe it's about 12,000 jobs.
And how many net jobs do we have now?
Figures are not out for January or February.
From my understanding, we have a net loss of jobs from when Walker took office. I'm pretty sure the February numbers are out.
February numbers will
Or January numbers.
January numbers should have been. They don't release them in February. February is the data correction set. They will come out. The next job numbers come out the third Thursday in March.
When we find out that Walker has a net loss in jobs, will you admit that it is no longer working?
You have to understand what the It's Working.
What does it refer to?
What the It's Working campaign is about. What the It's Working effort is about. It's about local governments being given the flexibility to adjust their budgets, not have to lay employees off, and the ability to ask their employees to contribute to their health care and pensions.
How do you, by removing the local governments can no longer collectively bargain with their unions if they want to. That is not allowing local governments anything.
They can collectively bargain. They just limit it on what they can bargain for.
What can they bargain for?
They can bargain for certain work rules, certain arbitration.
From my understanding, they can only bargain about salary, and it cannot be any greater than inflation.
Correct.
So it wasn't about working conditions or things like that. It was strictly salary.
The working conditions and stuff, those changes, which they can no longer bargain for, those changes are saving money in municipalities and school districts.
But what about working conditions that don't have any impact on money? What about safety conditions? Or working standards that are directly impacted and that teachers can...
I will tell you this, Arthur. You should take a look at chapter, I believe it's 230 in the Wisconsin statutes. Okay? Dozens and dozens of pages that cover public employees of Wisconsin regarding the protections that they still have that were not revoked. Public employees still have a lot of protections that were not necessarily collectively bargained, but are statutorily guaranteed.
They were collectively bargained into place, and then
what is in chapter 230 were not collectively bargained; those are statutorily bargained.
But when they were first implemented, there are a great deal of protections that are now statutorily on the books that were originally fought for and won with collective bargaining.
The legislation that is currently in the books was not wiped off the map.
That's not what I said it was.
No, and I'm not saying you did. What I'm saying is that there are still tons of protections in place for public employees. Tons. More for public employees than in the private sector.
Well, sure. That there are protections and rights guaranteed, and that's why people...
Are you going to go ask some of the people who are out here protesting who had no idea why they were in front of our building? Who have no idea why they were here? Who have no idea about what the MacIver Institute does? Who came up with phony, non sequitur arguments and tried to tie us into ALEC?
So no, I mean, yeah, I'll talk to them, and I'll try to educate them about your connection with ALEC.
Knock yourself out.
Okay,
I gave you 5 minutes.
Jensen was your treasurer, correct?
Jensen is not our treasurer. Scott Jensen is not our treasurer.
Is he affiliated with MacIver Institute?
No, he's not on the board. He's not an employee. He's not.
Does he actively work with the MacIver Institute?
No.
Okay.
We have 4 employees.
Thank you.
We have 4 full-time employees.
And you spent $700,000 this last quarter on TV ads?
We don't comment on the TV. We don't comment on our expenditures on our budget.
Thank you.